All right, let's get started. Just find a comfortable seat. So it can be, typically it's cross-legged, but if you want to kind of start practicing opening the hip up a little more, as long as it's comfortable, you can bring just one foot in front of the other, or you could even come to half lotus, but sometimes that's a little bit too, too intense for the beginning. So it's just kind of whatever, or maybe it feels good, but just kind of whatever you prefer. We'll start out before our practice just stretching out our neck, our head, our shoulders. So just interlace your hands behind your back. Draw your shoulders down and back, and just kind of keep your head and chest in neutral, just looking forward. Starting to lengthen your breath. Starting to just kind of feel your body relax. Starting to release any tension. From here, you can take your fist over to your right side. And then drop your right ear over to that shoulder. Try not to lean to the side, just dropping the ear over to the side so that you feel the nice stretch along the other side of the neck. And then maybe even starting to tilt the chin up just a little bit. And then slowly bring your chin back down to your chest. Take your fist over towards the other side, bringing the other ear over towards the other shoulder. Deep breaths. And then you can bring your chin down to your chest. Just release your hands and roll your head and neck either side to side or around once or twice more. Good. And then we'll just start by sitting up nice and tall, closing your eyes or just kind of softening your gaze and starting to come into your yoga breath. Taking long, deep inhales in through your nose. Long, deep exhales out through your nose. Noticing as you're inhaling, your belly fill up with air, your ribs expand, your chest rise. And then as you exhale, notice your chest drop, your ribs knit together, and your belly empty out. Take a moment and just really start to feel and observe your environment. So noticing the feeling of the wind, the air, the sun starting to set, the sounds, and embracing all of this as part of the practice, part of the experience this evening. And just take a moment to remind yourself of something you're grateful for and set an intention for class. You can slowly open up your eyes, and we're going to start with our feet in front of us. All right. So maybe removing any flesh out from underneath you, just so you can really ground through your bottom. And then we'll inhale, reach our arms out and up, looking up to the sky. Exhale to reach our arms out and back down. Again, inhale, reaching out and up. Exhale, reach, find length as you come down. Good. Reach up one more time. This time interlace your hands, palms up towards the sky, drawing your shoulders back, Good, sitting up nice and tall. From here, we're going to come to a twist, so over towards your right side. So your left hand to the outside of your right leg, looking over your right shoulder. Good. Taking a few deep breaths here, sitting up nice and tall. And then on your next inhale, come back up through to the center. Good. Exhale, we'll just switch sides. And then inhale, come back up through to the center again. We're going to bend our knees just a little bit, hinge from our hips, reach, reach, reach. Forward, just coming to an easy forward fold. So if you want, if you're more flexible, you can maybe just straighten the legs, but usually at the very beginning of class, our legs are a little bit tight, so just allowing for that tightness. And then next inhale, we'll just walk our hands back. All right, so from here, we're going to come to our first Yin Yoga pose. We're going to come to Ragdoll Forward Fold. So it's one of our only standing Yin Yoga poses. Take your feet. They can be like a little bit wider than hips distance apart or about hips distance apart. And we'll just bend at the knees and then start to come forward. So you're just going to allow a nice bend in the knees. If you want, you can grab your elbows. Maybe sway side to side a few times. Relax your head, relax your neck. Maybe shake your head yes or no just to kind of check in and make sure it's really relaxed. Spread out the toes to ground through your feet. Lifting up through the hips to get deeper, but still keeping the knees soft. And then start to notice where you're feeling the stretch. So this pose is mostly targeting the back of our legs and our hamstrings. So just kind of allow those muscles to relax. Coming back to your breath. Being upside down, so our head being upside down also can kind of be beneficial for the face. So kind of over time, our face starts to, as we age, kind of, get soft or sag down. So kind of coming upside down kind of helps it reverse. So it's actually really good for the muscles and the skin on our face. And seeing if you can go a little bit deeper, and going deeper by lifting up a little bit more through your hips, not necessarily straightening the knees all the way, but straightening the knees just a little bit more. And then to make our way up, we're just going to take our time going as slow as we can to just roll up. So you can let your arms hang there, let your head hang there. Take your time to just slowly make your way up. Once you do come up, just rolling your shoulders out, up and back once or twice. And then from here, we'll just inhale, reach up, just extend. So a little counter stretch. We'll stretch up and over to the right. And then back up through to the center, up and over to the other side. Good, and then we'll come back up through to the center. So from here, we're going to come to a Yogi Squat, and we're going to do it 2 times. First time, we're just going to hold it for a minute. So take your feet out about the width of the mat, feet at a diagonal, and then we'll bring our hips down, hands to heart center, chest stays lifted. So you want to find length in your spine. So this is actually also kind of like a counter pose to the forward fold, because our spine's long. If you need to, you can come up onto the toes. If you're able to stay, if it's more accessible on the toes, that's fine. Coming back to your breath, feeling that nice stretch in the inner legs. About 2 more deep breaths here. And then you can bring your hands in front of you, lift your hips up, heel toe your feet a little bit closer together, and we're coming back to that ragdoll forward fold. Again, relaxing the head and neck, maybe swaying side to side a few times. Lifting up through your hips, sending your body weight a little bit forward so that you're not sitting back on your heels. We tend to just do that naturally, kind of naturally sit back on the heels without even realizing it. So kind of just think to come forward a little bit. And then we're going to make our way back into the Yogi Squat round 2. So taking the feet out a little bit wider, at a diagonal, bring the hips down again. Chest is lifted. Good. We're going to try to hold this a little bit longer. So I'm going to say 1.5 minutes this time. We'll be here about 30 more seconds or 5 more deep breaths. One more deep breath. Good. And then you can just come to a seat. All right. Shake your legs out. Very good. All right. And we're going to come to a child's pose, kind of just as a transition pose. So we're just going to hold our child's pose for about 5 or 6 deep breaths, taking the knees apart, sitting all the way back towards your heels, walking your hands forward, bringing the forehead down. And then you can start to walk your hands back, and we're just going to come into a tabletop, just doing a few rounds of cat-cow pose. So just kind of stretching our spine out a few times, inhaling through to cow pose and exhaling to round for cat pose. One more round of cat-cow. All right, from here we're going to come into puppy pose. So puppy pose will be on our knees for a while. So if you have a blanket, you might want to place the blanket under your knees. If you don't have a blanket, but you have a thin yoga mat, you might want to like double up your yoga mat right where your knees are. And we'll need to do that for one of the other poses as well. So might as well take your time to set it up. And when you're ready, just coming into puppy pose. So keeping the hips up high over the knees, reaching the arms forward, and then bringing your forehead down. So this pose, really focusing on the upper body. So starting to notice the sensation in your shoulders, your upper back, your arms. Might also feel nice for your back. And then using this time to just come to a place of stillness. So not only in your body, but in your mind. Kind of embracing not having to do anything, not having to move, not having to think of anything in particular. Take about 2 or 3 more deep breaths. And then moving nice and slow, start to walk your hands back. We're going to sit all the way back with our knees together, bringing our hands behind our back, palms up, or you can even interlace the hands behind your back. That kind of stiffness that you feel right after the pose usually goes away pretty quickly, so we're just giving it a little bit of time. Good, and then you can make your way up. All right, and we're going to set up for dragon pose, so basically a low lunge. So if you have a blanket for your knee, or if you just need to double up on your yoga mat, you can do that. Mine's thick enough that I'm okay on my knee, but we're going to start out here. So when you set up, just making sure your knee's over top of the ankle. Maybe lift that back knee up and see if it can go back a little bit further so that you know you're getting a good stretch, a nice distance between your front heel and the back knee. Just settling in here. So we can start out with our hands kind of down on either side of our foot, but we'll be holding this variation for about 2 minutes. So if you want during that time, you can also bring your hands here and make your way up, still kind of stretching out the legs in the same way, but giving your back, or it could be even your wrists, a little bit of a break. So that's just an option in this pose. But the target area of the pose is the legs on inner thigh, the legs, and the hip on both sides. And kind of keeping your gaze maybe towards the mat in front of you. Try not to kind of round the head and bring the head all the way down, keeping the spine a little bit more in line. About 2 or 3 more deep breaths here. From here, we're going to come to lizard pose. So taking your right foot over to the right a little bit more, bringing both hands inside that foot. So maybe starting out up high with both hands up, and then you can gradually work your way to going a little bit deeper. So maybe bringing one forearm down, kind of checking in, seeing if that feels okay. If it does, you can stay there. If not, you can come back up. And then maybe you can bring both forearms down. So in the lizard pose, getting a little bit deeper into the inner leg and into the hip on the right side. And then you can take your time to make your way onto your hands. And we're going to take that right foot over, kind of at a diagonal, coming onto the pinky edge side. So just stretching it out here. So taking your right hand to the right knee, maybe dropping the left hip down, looking over the right shoulder, a little bit of a twist. Coming forward again. So either just staying here, or if you want a little bit more, lift that back knee up. Make sure you're not on the kneecap. So you want to be forward of the kneecap. Reach the right hand back, maybe reaching for the foot, maybe. Maybe just reaching for it. Maybe you grab it, maybe not. Maybe you do your own variation that feels good. Okay, let's release. And coming back to stretch it out. So maybe bringing that leg back, and we'll come into downward facing dog to stretch out both the legs. Maybe stretching out the hips, doing a few hip circles if that feels good. And then we'll come into a child's pose before we move on to the other side. Either knees together, hands behind you, or you can take the knees apart, reach forward. All right, slowly make your way back up onto your hands and knees, and we'll set up for the other side. Taking your time to set up, bringing the left foot forward, knees over top of the ankle, and then lift that back knee up. Kind of see if it can go back as far as it can go back. Settling in. Taking your time to set up if you need that extra cushion for your knee. So maybe hands on either side of the foot, drawing the shoulders away from your ear, and just kind of looking just kind of towards the front of your mat. Or at any point, if you want to, make your way up and kind of hold it there for a few breaths to give your back and your shoulders a little bit of a rest from leaning forward. And then we'll slowly make our way into lizard pose, taking the left foot more onto the left side, both hands inside. Maybe staying up on your hands to start with. Seeing if you can bring one forearm down, noticing if this side feels much different than the other side. slowly making your way up, back up to your hands. We'll take that left foot out at a diagonal, coming onto the pinky edge side, just stretching up the hip. So bringing that knee over to the side, dropping the right hip down, a little twist. Good, and then you can come forward again, maybe just holding here for a few more breaths. Or if you want to try to lift that back leg up, making sure you're not on the kneecap, reach the opposite arm back. Maybe you can reach it, maybe not. If you can, a little bit of a quad stretch. And then when you're ready, go ahead, release. Stretch it out. Kind of stretching out the legs any way that feels good. So maybe just straightening them behind you, doing a few hip circles. And then we'll come into downward facing dog. New favorite pose. And when you're ready, we'll come into child's pose for a few more breaths. All right, good. And then we'll make our way up to a seat. Great, setting up for a seated twist. So it doesn't matter which side you start with. Take one leg out long, cross the foot on top. Just sitting up nice and tall, finding length in your spine. And then we can just kind of hook that arm over the knee. So opposite arm to opposite knee. Yes. So other way. Yeah. Good. All right. Yeah, good. We're all doing the same side. Cool. So sitting up nice and tall, looking over your shoulder. Twisting through the upper body. Feeling that nice, probably release in your spine from the twist. About 2 more deep breaths. And then come back through to the center. So from here, we're going to come to cradle, the baby pose. So it's not one we do very often, but it's a kind of a hip stretch. So you'll start, we'll take our right elbow around that knee, and then kind of level one is to place a foot in the hand, and you're going to rock it side to side. If you can, if you want to go further, you're going to take the elbow around the foot. So one elbow is around the knee, one elbow is around the foot. Draw your shoulders back. Try to sit up straight. Look out, we have a pretty puffy clouds and the almost full moon. Nice and clear tonight. About 2 or 3 more deep breaths. Good, and then you can release. We'll just shake out our legs in front of us. Maybe windshield wiper our knees side to side a few times. And then just setting up for the twist on the other side. So bringing opposite leg forward, crossing that knee on top, sitting up nice and tall. And then it's opposite arm to opposite knee, looking over shoulder. Good. Maybe 1 or 2 more breaths. And then we'll come back through to the center and we're going to do happy baby pose on the other side. So just making sure you switch sides. All right, so placing the elbow around the knee, hand to the foot, maybe to start with, sitting up nice and tall, feeling that kind of stretch in your hip. And then if you can go further, placing the foot in the elbow. Doing that, noticing if one side's tighter than the other side. Maybe rocking side to side. About 2 or 3 more deep breaths. And you can release, just shaking out your legs in front of you, windshield wipering the knees side to side. All right, so for the next pose, you have the choice. So it's going to be hip stretch. So option to either come into pigeon pose, or if you prefer, if you're ready to kind of lie on your back, you can come to a lying down figure 4 stretch. So a little less intense than the pigeon pose. So just either option's fine, whatever one you feel like. Make it your practice. Starting with, it doesn't matter which side you start with. Starting with one side, we'll switch to the other. If you're in the pigeon, making your way down to the resting pigeon. If you're in the figure 4, energetically pressing the knee out to the side to feel it a little bit deeper in your glutes and your hip. Maybe rolling the ankles out. Allowing your body to release and relax into the pose. Softening the muscles in your face. Allowing yourself to just let go, to just be. So if you're in your figure 4 stretch, you're going to stay in the figure 4 but straighten one of the legs up towards the sky. If you're in the pigeon pose, you're going to slowly walk your hands back to come to an upright pigeon. Staying here for a few breaths, so drawing the shoulders back, finding length in the spine. Either staying here for a few more breaths, or if you want a little bit more of a challenge, lift the back foot up. So this time, we're taking the same hand back for that foot. So a little bit different. Last time we were doing the opposite hand to opposite foot. This time, same hand, the same foot. Either staying here or maybe reaching that other arm forward. If you're more flexible, you can come into a mermaid stretch. I can't, but it's reaching your hand back. Maybe you can, I don't know. Kind of. 1 or 2 more breaths. And then you can slowly release, make your way out of it. If you're in the figure 4 stretch, just hug your knees into your chest, or if you're in pigeon, come to downward facing dog. Maybe stretch out your hips. If you're lying on your back, just kind of doing some circles. All right, so we'll make our way to the other side. If you're in down dog, if you want to start in down dog, you can come to that 3-legged down dog, bringing the left knee behind your left wrist. Taking your time to make your way into the pose. Checking in on this side. Noticing if it's a little bit tighter or a little bit more flexible. If you're in pigeon, either resting on your forearms, or you can straighten the arms out, bringing the forehead all the way down. If you're in your figure 4, maybe rolling up the ankles, energetically pressing that knee out to the side. Feel it a little bit deeper in your hip and your glutes. But either way, trying to allow your body to release and relax into the pose. Telling yourself to just let go. if you're in the figure 4 stretch, straightening the bottom leg to stretch out the hamstring a little bit more. And then if you're in the pigeon pose, slowly walking your hands back, coming to an upright pigeon. Pausing here for a few breaths, trying to straighten your back. Either staying here or lifting that back foot up, making sure you're coming forward so you're not on the knee, and then same hand reaches back for that foot again. Either just holding it here, you can try to balance reaching that other arm forward. And slowly making your way out. Doesn't have to be graceful. Just stretching it out. So maybe just reaching that leg out long, coming to a down dog. If you're in a figure 4, maybe just reach your arms up overhead, straightening your legs. All right, and then we're going to come to a seat and then make our way onto our back. So if you want to grab a drink of water and then come onto your back. All right, so we are going to start with happy baby pose. Reaching for the outsides of your ankles or the outsides of your feet. Rocking side to side a few times. Maybe pressing that lower back into the mat or lifting the tailbone up. Either way is fine. And then from here, we're going to bring the feet together and then lower the feet down to the mat for a lying down butterfly stretch. So option is to place one hand on your belly, one hand on your heart, and just notice the rise and fall of your belly and your chest as you're breathing. Or you can just take both hands out to the side, palms up, allowing your shoulders to kind of release and relax down. From here, we can make our way into Shavasana. So if it feels good right where you're at, you can stay there. Or if you prefer, you can straighten the legs, allow the feet to open up just naturally out to the side. Or, find your own comfortable position for Shavasana. But just allowing the last 2 to 3 minutes for your body just to lie flat on your back. Sink deeper into the mat and just release, relax, and let go, using this time just for yourself. And take a nice deep inhale in through your nose. Complete exhale out through your mouth. And one more time, inhale in through your nose. Exhale out through your mouth. Start to roll out your wrists a few times, roll out your ankles. Slowly starting to wake your body up. Reaching your arms up overhead, bending your knees, and rolling onto one side. When you're ready, slowly pushing your way all the way up to a seat. And then we'll finish by bringing our hands to our heart center one more time. Take one more inhale, reach the arms out and up. Press the palms together. Exhale, bringing your hands back down and just taking a moment to feel that sense of peacefulness, sense of gratitude for the beautiful evening, and just allowing the positive energy you feel to be a benefit to yourself and the people around you throughout the evening and throughout the day tomorrow. Namaste. Right. We got such a nice evening today. Perfect.